Hello and welcome to Radius Designs Tutorials. My name is Neil Hitchcox and today we'll be looking at sketch relationships and the difference between Solidworks and Solid Edge. In this section we're going to be running Solidworks and we're going to do a very simple sketch just to highlight some of the differences between Solidworks and Solid Edge. So we're going to start off by creating a curve. And with this curve we're going to make these 3 points horizontal, and we're going to make the radius 100 millimeters. From there we're going to bring a line up and make that 120 millimeters. Then bring a second line up and we will make those 2 points horizontal. So this creates our very simple curved shape. We'll then use the offset command and we will select those 3 components and we will make that 12.5 millimeters. We will then take those lines and we'll offset those again a further 12.5 millimeters. We will just cap the top of this, and then one last thing, we will make these like that. So now we've completed our simple shape. We will repeat this whole process in Solid Edge. The thing to note here are the indicators in Solid Edge and how it displays them. We'll be looking at exactly the same in Solid Edge, but how it differs in the way in which it represents the relationships and the line types. Okay, here we are in Solid Edge. A couple of things which are quite helpful right from the beginning is this prompt bar down the bottom here. It will come up with instructions for each command as you use them. The other useful tool is the find command down the bottom here, and we will use those a couple of times during this demonstration just to show you how they operate. In Solid Edge we have 2 separate environments in which we can operate in, synchronous and ordered. To make life a little easier, we're going to go to the ordered option. It is very similar to the environment then in Solidworks. We're going to choose the sketch command and then we're going to choose the plane on which we're going to draw the sketch. Very similar or the same as Solidworks. We always have this triad on display by default. We can turn that off simply by clicking the tick button next to the triad in the tool menu. We've also got our planes the same as we do in Solidworks. We can also add and delete planes as necessary, and we can turn on and off various planes simply with the click of a mouse button. If I want to choose a plane which is hidden behind the plane which highlights, if I leave my mouse alone for a few seconds, you'll see that the indicator changes to a little mouse indicator with 3 dots. Right mouse clicking then brings up the quick pick menu, and then I can change the plane that I want to draw on. We're just going to stick with the ZX plane. And now I'm in the drawing environment. So you'll see the toolbars changed, and I've now got a selection here of drawing tools available for me. A couple of things to note is down the bottom here is first it's now giving me some instructions on what I can do. I can press an A or an L to get an arc or a line. I can press S if I want to make it symmetric. For example, we've got the line tool selected up here. If I click on that mid plane and I press the S key, so at the moment you'll see I'm just drawing a line by 2 points. If I press the S key, it makes it symmetrical about that line. If I click on here and I'm drawing a line, if I press the A key, it turns it into an arc. What we want to do, as we did in SolidWorks, is we're going to draw an arc. Now you'll notice there a radial menu come up. That's because I held my right mouse button down, and when I do that I get this quick pick radial command, so I can choose dimensions, relationship types, and also drawing tools and views. Now if I select this line, you'll notice that I can't select the endpoints, and I get no toolbar coming up indicating what relationships I want to do. In Solid Edge, if you want to add relationships, you need to then first select the relationship that you want to create, and then select the points that you want to make that relationship to. So here we'll move up to the Relate toolbar, and we will select the horizontal vertical relationship, and then we can start selecting the points we want to apply that relationship to. You'll notice here that it's indicating that I've come to the end of a line. I click on that and click on the point that I want to apply that relationship to, and I can repeat that process. I've now got all 3 points horizontal to each other. I can now apply a dimension, and you'll see that the line color is now changed to black. That indicates now that I've got a fully defined sketch. However, this change of color only comes up if I've got this tool here called the Relationship Colors tool turned on. If it's not turned on, then I get a slightly different blue color coming up, and if I delete my dimension, you'll see the color doesn't change, even though it is not fully defined. So we'll put our dimension back on, and we will turn on our relationship colors, and now we can see that we have got a fully defined arc. These indicators here, the 2 horizontal indicators, they can be turned on and off with this tool over here next to the relationship tools, the relationship handles. I can turn those on and off. When your sketch gets extremely busy, sometimes it can be helpful to turn those on and off. So going back to our sketch, we can now draw our vertical lines. You'll see that we've got a couple of boxes here that we can type our dimensions into. So I can type in 100 and then left mouse click, that finishes the command. You'll see that now it wants me to draw the next line. I can simply right mouse click to finish that command. I can then apply a dimension to that. You'll see the red plus in the middle of the vertical line. That's indicating that we've got a vertical line. You can see a red circle around the connection point between the line and the arc. That's telling me that it's tangential, and there is a red square in the middle of the circle. That tells me that it's a connection point. So if I delete that tangential connection, you'll see that we've still got our connection point. I can then delete that connection point, and now we've got a vertical line that is not connected to the arc at all. So I can use the connect tool here. I can connect that back to our arc, but you can see now that it is not tangent. So I can click the tangent tool and select the 2 items that I want to make tangent. We can then draw our second line. Now we can see that it has by default connected it and also made it tangent to the arc. It is undefined because its length can change. We can vary the length. And there are various ways in which we can fully define that. We can make the end point here horizontal to the end point of its brother. That fully defines it. We can make that line equal, so we can choose that line and make it equal to that line. Now we've got these two indicators telling us that these two components are equal, and if I click on that, it will highlight the two lines which are associated to each other. The other thing that we can do is that we can have this symmetric. We can make the two lines symmetric. Now, to use the tool, if we've not used it before, we can use the prompt bar down the bottom here. So it is telling us click on the symmetry axis, so we're going to click on the Z axis here. It then tells us that we need to click on the lines, the first line, and then it's now telling us click on the next line, so we'll click on that. And you'll see now that we have got the symmetry indicators, and we've also got where these two are symmetrical too. So if I click on those, it highlights both the lines that are symmetric and also the axis that they're symmetric to. So, and just as in with any other CAD package, a number of ways to skin the cat. Let's choose our offset tool now, and we first of all we can tell it what distance we want to make the offset, and then next to that we've got this drop down box where we can either select single items, so we can select just those two. If I then select that, I can then make that offset, and it'll only offset those two lines. If I escape out of that and we reselect, if I choose chain, it will connect. If I choose chain, it will then select all connected lines. I can then accept that. I could have accepted that simply by right mouse clicking or by clicking on the tick box. And now choose which side of the line I want to make the offset, and then I can repeat that command. I can go I can just keep repeating that for as many times as I like. To finish the command, I simply right mouse click and it finishes that command. I'm just going to press Ctrl Z now and remove the last two. So here we've got very similar shape that we had in Solidworks. We can apply the horizontal line along the top here to cap that off. So now we've fully defined most of our lines, but we'll see here that we have two blue lines which indicates that they're not fully defined. We've got some new dimensions here now which have been applied by the offset command, and we've got some indicators here indicating that these lines are offsets. I can simply change these dimensions and it will change the offset for those lines. I can now use the connect tool if I wanted to connect that line to that midpoint, and it says this request change conflicts with existing relationships. Now what that's telling me is that if I connect that line to this horizontal line, it's going to over define the drawing. If I delete that dimension and then I use the connect tool, so I'm connecting that horizontal, I've now selected the blue line which is changed to orange, and if I move my mouse over you'll see that I get the midpoint coming up. If I click on that, you'll see now that it's accepted that and it's fully defined the three lines. I can now do the same there. So now we've got our drawing almost finished. In Solidworks we made these lines, these center lines here, construction lines. We can do the same here in Solid Edge. We can come up here to construction. So now we've selected the construction tool. It's asking us what do we want to make construction. We can again select single or chain. We'll select chain, we'll click on the center line, and there we have our sketch complete. So what we've looked at here is the relationship tools and how we apply those. We've looked at the indicators, how Solid Edge shows us the different relationships, and we've also looked at relationship colors. We've also looked at the relationship handles and where we can turn those on and off. I hope this has been useful for you, and there will be further videos coming out showing or highlighting the differences between how to use SolidWorks and changing to or moving to Solid Edge. Thank you very much.